Welcome to the Both Sides Podcast, a conversation between a film industry insider and an outsider to get their unique perspectives on films. I'm your host, Andrew Heilman, a film student and owner-operator of a film and media production company. Today, my guest is my brother Washington Heilman, a Let's Play YouTuber and streamer from the United States. Today, requested by Noah Flores, we're watching Deadpool. Washington has never seen this film. I haven't either. Here's the story in a nutshell. Deadpool follows Wade Wilson, a former Special Forces mercenary who falls in love with Vanessa. After being diagnosed with terminal cancer, Wade agrees to an experimental treatment offered by a shady organization promising a cure. The treatment gives him accelerated healing powers, but leaves him horribly scarred. Adopting the alter ego Deadpool, Wade becomes a wisecracking anti-hero obsessed with hunting down Ajax, the man responsible for the experiment, so he can force him to fix his appearance. Along the way, Deadpool teams up, often reluctantly, with the X-Men members Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. In the climax, Deadpool defeats Ajax, rescues Vanessa, and accepts that she still loves him despite his scars. Stay tuned till the end to hear Washington and my final reviews of the film. Now, let's talk about this movie. So, what'd you think?
Well, I don't know what else to say besides it was good. I liked it. Could not remember a single name of the characters besides Deadpool and Francis. Everyone else is just in and out of my mind. Metal Man, little girl, and girlfriend, and guy at bar. Oh, jeez. Couldn't remember their names. It was very similar to like John Wick meets the Phantom of the Opera meets the superhero movies, kind of.
Yeah. Obviously, the movie doesn't work without the unique character of Deadpool.
Yeah, it completely kind of falls apart and becomes a normal superhero movie if it weren't for Deadpool, which is good why he's there. And would have been nice to see someone die at the end, give us a little bit of something. It's an adult film made for adults. Would have liked to see more negative consequences that the adults could handle. Also, when the movie came out, it's really funny that a bunch of kids went to go see that.
Yeah.
But it is a Marvel movie, so all the Marvel movies gotta have a good ending. And it's unfortunate to see that at the end of the movie, when the credits rolled, what's past tense word for credits rolling?
Rolled.
When the credits rolled, there was no Deadpool will come back and blah, blah, blah. Marvel stuff.
Well, there might have been at the very end. I paused it right as the credits started rolling.
Cool. What other Deadpool? Are there other Deadpool movies?
There's two more. There's Deadpool 2, I think. That's the one with the X-Men, and then the
next
one
is the Christmas. It was like Christmassy. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then there's the Wolverine one. Oh yeah, I also forgot to say, I know how to kill like Wolverine, Deadpool, anybody who's invincible. If you just put them on a deserted island in the middle of nowhere, they will never leave. I thought that was interesting. But plot of the movie, I thought the flashbacks, like the first half of the movie, where we were flashing forward and backward from past to present, I thought that was good. I thought that was well paced, and they told us what was going on in the story of everything well. They caught us up well. But what did you think? What did directors and movie people see when they watch a movie? Are they focused on the shots and cinematography and the lighting and the acting and stuff?
All of that stuff was pretty solid. I mean, for these kind of big budget movies, they very rarely have bad directing and bad acting and all that kind of stuff. I talk about in storytelling, and I think a lot about favoritism, which is basically giving each main character giving them their own spotlights and giving the audience reasons to sympathize with each and every one of them and making them more human.
as opposed to having a direct message of this guy's bad and this guy's good. Root for the good guy, because that kind of content can be really boring and cliched. That's why Martin Scorsese, the famous director, he doesn't really like, my understanding,
of the Wall Street.
Yeah, the director of The Wolf of Wall Street and a bunch of other movies.
He's the wolf, but yes, continue.
His perspective on superhero movies, from my understanding, is like they're just popcorn movies. They're predictable. They're simple. They're easy to follow. They're the movies of the masses, the opiate of the masses. And that's pretty much true for most superhero movies. Most superhero movies are very simple and they're very clean cut. And this movie is not that simple. It has a bunch of intricacies in it. But like you said, I mean, it follows the very standard superhero formula. It plays with it a little bit in the maybe the first half, with not starting with the origin story, but kind of using the origin story as a flashback as opposed to starting at the actual origin of the story. But what it doesn't do right in terms of trying to be not, very basic superhero movies, that with the supervillain, there's a lot of favoritism towards Deadpool. And the movie makes it very clear that Francis, whatever his name is, AJ, is a bad guy, and that we're supposed to think that he's a bad guy. And I would have liked to see more of his motives. I would have liked to see more of his life. I would have liked to see more of why he's going after Deadpool. The main reason the movie gives us is that Deadpool basically just like humiliates him and like makes fun of his name, and he doesn't like Deadpool's guts, which, yes, that's motivation, but it doesn't feel as deep as a real human being would attack someone, to me. I'm sure, in real life people do that kind of stuff all the time, but to the level that he wants to pursue and kill Deadpool, and just the crazy negative attacks he has against Deadpool, it doesn't feel like him having his name made fun of and then him kind of being like messed around with by Deadpool.
That at all.
It's not the strongest way to build a villain like that. The main villain of the story is just Deadpool's insecurity. And that's what it feels like. The story feels like it's much more a story about getting over your insecurity of the way that you look than it is like an actual superhero story about like killing Thanos or something. That being said, the fourth wall breaks, the comedy, it borders.
Comedy was solid.
It borders on cringe a little bit sometimes when, I don't know, he makes it. There's a certain threshold that you can get when you're being too meta, in my opinion, to where it's just kind of like, okay, that's the thing that I know of. That's the thing that whatever.
That's about right.
But a lot of the times it was genuinely clever, the way that he would break certain fourth walls, and he would bring in some outside context of the real world into the fictional world that they're trying to create in the story. Like specifically the fourth wall break when he's coming out of the X-Men mansion building, and he says, I wonder, this house that looks like it could like live 12, and you two are the only two I see here. Maybe that's because the studio couldn't afford more X-Men. Stuff like that is clever and funny because they probably really couldn't, because at the time I'm pretty sure Sony owns the X-Men IP. Maybe Marvel bought back.
I was watching a video essay the other day about stuff like this. Okay, wait. Sony owns Spider-Man. Warner Brothers owns. Shoot! I was looking at this the other day. I think Warner Brothers. It's either Warner Brothers or. Oh shoot! Oh no! I think it's either Warner Brothers or Paramount that owns the X-Men.
No, 20th Century Fox owns X-Men, I think.
Shoot! It was 20th Century Fox at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. 20th Century Fox owns X-Men.
But now Disney owns 20th Century Fox. But back then, when this movie was made in like 2016, Disney hadn't bought 20th Century Fox yet, so they didn't own the X-Men IP. And then I think in Deadpool 2, they either made a deal or some sort of thing. But all that to say, there's a filmmaking reason and like a film industry reason why more X-Men weren't in that movie, and Deadpool calls it out, which is mainly that it was probably a financing thing. And because they did eventually tell the story of Deadpool with all the X-Men in the next X-Men movie, which, the plot of this movie isn't very interesting to me. It's just a very basic
I guess
origin
the plot
superhero
kind
movie.
But the way of telling it was fun.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, is that there's a difference between the story and then the storytelling. And the storytelling is that it's, a lot of fourth wall breaking, there's a lot of unconventional humor and a lot of violence and swearing and all that kind of stuff, which does make it unique and interesting in its own movie. And the storytelling aspect of it is all good. But you have to have a good foundation in order to build something off of. And this movie does have a solid foundation, but it's not, it's not the... I would pick movies like Infinity War or Civil War or Winter Soldier as being much better than this movie in terms of what the actual story is. But, I think normally at the end of these, I had some other perspective that I was going to add, but yeah, mainly just that when you're creating a story, that having favoritism for a main character can make your story feel very bland, but it can appeal to more of the masses because most people want a very simply understandable movie, and that's why crazy foreign films that are all over the place or something that's, unconventional doesn't normally have artistic movies like that don't normally have a big wide audience because they're really hard to understand. So it's kind of like a negative consequence of trying to go out and create something that's never been created before, is that people need something that they've seen before in order to understand what they see. So I think I like to end these kind of things by looking at...
Well, I had a few more questions.
Yeah, okay, what was a few more questions?
First question, if you had to change something about the movie, what would you do it? What would you change about the movie and how?
Yes. I would change definitely what we've been saying about probably making the story a little bit more unconventional. What you were saying about having like someone die at the end.
Yeah, I would have liked someone to die at the end. But
just
who? I want to know how. I think
making something less predictable.
If the
like
girl
that.
died at the end, that would be because the movie would even if the girl died at the end, people would anticipate her coming back to life because that cliche is such a thing. I feel like somebody should die at the end, but it couldn't be the girl because that's too obvious. I feel like, I don't know, maybe the old blind lady or something. It's just somebody die, please. It's Deadpool.
Yeah, you definitely don't want... what audiences want are different than what film buffs want or people that like movies. When you watch as many movies as I've seen, or as many movies that you've seen, you want something new and different to really come away with a movie. You don't want to just see basically another movie that you just saw.
Yep.
If I were to make it different, I definitely would have made the main villain a little bit more interesting. Having that world be left on the table, like we get to see Deadpool go to do this, Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man kill spree where he goes against all of these people on his way up to the top. I would have liked to see maybe him explore that world a little bit more and then learn, what this organization really was, what they were doing to these people and that kind of stuff.
That was kind of confusing.
And that would have been a good point to go deep into this Francis character in that industry instead of focusing so much on Deadpool's insecurity as like the main plot of the movie. I would have changed that. I would have made... I think the X-Men characters, I think it's Colossus is the Chrome guy.
Big Metal Man,
and then I don't remember we have to preface this by saying we've never read any of the Deadpool comics or X-Men comics. So we're not experts.
Definitely should have said that at the beginning. Yeah, I've never read the comics, never seen the movie before, never seen any shows or anything. I'm trying to think what else would he be in. X-Men movies. I've seen like one X-Men movie.
Yeah, so like those characters aren't the most interesting to me, but they did add a little bit of
Yeah,
uniqueness
it's like off-brand
to the plot.
Hulk and off-brand Human Torch. I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah, but yes, at the end of these, I normally like to look at what.
Wait, there's a plot twist. I was gonna ask another question.
What was your other question?
How should I ask this? What's the big, if you were to describe this movie in one word, in a film descriptive way, how would you describe it? Just describe this movie in one word.
In one word?
Yeah.
Well, it would just be like overcoming or something.
Overcoming. Now, I want to learn some behind the scenes like stuff about film. Actually, like anything I should know about directing or writing or casting or acting, or there's a lot of different stuff about movies which I don't really know. But is there anything in movies that you should like end this podcast with, like a lesson about movies or something?
A lesson about movies. You really got to find out what your goal is. If your goal is to make a superhero movie, then go ahead and make a superhero movie.
What if your goal is to like make money?
If your goal is to make money, appeal to what the audience wants. I mean, that's making money 101. Because if you make a Deadpool movie and then kill off Deadpool at the end of the first movie, no one's going to want to show that movie to people. So you have to find a way to figure out what your audience wants and then make the movie your audience wants. That doesn't mean that it's the movie that's the most innovative or the movie that's the most interesting or the movie that's the most creative or the movie that'll appeal to the most, critics and stuff. But it's the movie that'll appeal to the the widest audience. And they clearly wanted to make a successful movie. And I get it that if you're going to, as a company, make, I think it's the first R-rated Marvel movie, and it was a big gamble for them to create. But so they wanted it to make money. But it's you want to make the movie that you want to make, that you have pride in, and if the filmmakers have pride in this movie for, in their opinion, making it as interesting as they thought it should be and all that kind of stuff, then I can't blame them too much. Everything in this movie was pretty solid, from the lighting and the acting and the directing, and they, like you mentioned, the editing and the pacing. That was a really creative decision to tell the origin story in a flashback, as opposed, again, like I said, as opposed to starting the movie in the original origin story.
Yeah.
So it's not like they were making a movie that they thought was going to be, that they didn't take an effort in making sure that it wasn't formulaic. I think that they could have dragged out and made more of a crescendo of the ending and the middle. I think they could have made it longer. That's a common complaint with me with a lot of these movies, is that they're going, I just want more of them, which I know that's very much a director's and producer's decision of why a certain movie isn't as long as it could be, because when you shoot these movies, you get hundreds of hours of content, and then you have to edit it down to, what'll get people in the most seats. They make a big deal out of that in the show The Offer, which is kind of like a documentary. What do you call it? It's like a biopic TV show.
I don't know what you would call that.
It's like a biopic TV show, or miniseries.
It's a show about the creators who made
The Godfather
and what they had to go through to make it.
Yeah, and the point of that...
The Offer is what it's called.
Right, and with distribution, the longer a movie is, the less showtimes you get in a day, which means the less money you make overall. So the reason why these movies, even though they could probably keep someone in a theater for 3, 4, 5 hours, is because you make less money because you can't charge more for a certain movie just because of how long it is. And you get less of that time less showtimes to show people. So obviously, I'd want a movie to be as long as it could in order
get the most bang for your buck.
Get the most bang for my buck, to convince me that these characters are real and that they're not one-dimensional and that they have all of these things that go behind their creations. And, you know, I get it. It's a director's choice because they want to show things that are interesting to them, and it's a producer's choice because they want to have the money to fund those scenes and all that kind of stuff, and they want to get the money back from distribution. The Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie, I believe, I'm looking it up now.
98 is my guess. No,
85.
84.
So critics
Wait,
gave...
what was it?
85.
85, man. I said 84.
So critics gave this movie 85 on Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences gave it 90%. I think that kind of just bolsters my theory of if you make a movie that's a little bit more safe or predictable, that most audiences like it, which, you know, is fine. If you were to rate...
I was going to say, we should
movie,
both rate, we
yeah.
should both at the same time say our ranking from
not
1
at the
to 5
same,
stars.
Not at the same
No,
time.
it's like 1, 2, 3, 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. I would rate it 3.5. It's pretty fun for a very average action movie.
What would you, out of what... where would that fall, do you think, on a Rotten Tomatoes score of 1 to 100?
If 5 is 100, then 4 is 80, then 3 is 70, 75 Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I'd probably give it closer to...
Wait, is that correct? 2, 4, 6, 8.
I don't know if that's 100%.
No, 65. 65. I'm sorry. 100 divided by 5 is 20. 2, 4 is 6. 65 Rotten Tomatoes.
I'd give it 75 Rotten Tomatoes, because I do think that there's enough of it to be unique and interesting. It's not like you're literally watching, you know, a cliche. You're watching a bunch of unique stuff with cliche elements in it, which I would have made a little differently, but that's our scores. That you say 65, I say 75. And yeah, I appreciate you being on the show. We have some other movies I think that would be fun to watch and, you know, just talk about afterwards, because that's kind of what this show is all about, is just talking about movies. It's not this huge produced thing, but...
Do you have a, like, let us know what movie we should watch next type thing? Do you have, like, a forum where people can submit movies?
Yeah, it's mainly through just the comment section on multiple social media apps, but that's going to be it for today.
Very cool.
Thanks for watching. So, thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
It's a
audio only
book.
podcast. All right. Adios. Bye.
All right. See you.
Thank you for listening to Both Sides. Leave a comment below of a movie you want me to watch with a guest, and I'll credit you in your username. Like and follow if you enjoyed this podcast, and to stay notified of future reviews. Remember, your right to your opinion matters, whether you're an expert or not. Peace out.